Another breath. Let it go. Sink into your body. And one more breath. And let it go. Relax. Become present. We are ready to begin. And again, we are so pleased you're here, and we've waited for you for so long, your entire lives, as we've always said. And we went through extraordinary lengths again to bring you this awareness today because it is a crucial time in your life and in your world. And we knew that the configuration of the events that we put together would help you all understand on a much deeper level why you are here, why you exist in the world during this time, because it is a very special time in your world and in your life. You have been on an evolutionary journey that is just extensive, nothing that you can remember, but it's eternal. You've always been here. But this time, you decided to use this life experience as the one that would help facilitate your world moving into this new paradigm, moving into a new place. And it is shocking for many of you. You don't understand exactly what is occurring in your world or in your lives. And we've given you information, and we will continue to do so. We sent a message this morning, and it was called Regret and Understanding. We did that purposely because the message that we have on the screen was what we gave you in your life operating instructions. We gave you that in 2012, but we knew that you would not be where you wanted to be because as humans, you take a little bit of time to understand and accept who you are and your gifts and become willing to offer them to the world. And the more of you who hold back and do not do that, you end up with the results that you're seeing in your lives and in your world. And this is why we wanted to help today give you something different. We want you to let go of your old self because you're not going to be that person anymore. You have moved into a new place, but the holding on has been really challenging for all of you, especially for Roger. And this is why we're speaking about it, because he has doubted what we have given him all this entire time. And we've had him speak about it because you have doubted yourselves. You have doubted why you're here. You've doubted what is happening in your world. You're thinking something is going wrong, and it is not. It is just, this is the time in your journey, your evolutionary journey, where you were meant to awaken to who you were and decide to love yourselves and own who you are and put that energy into the world, allow it to come into the world so that your world would shift. The war that is happening currently in your world is not accidental. It was necessary even, and we know that is a challenging concept for many of you to accept. However, your world has been off balance for so long, for eons far beyond what you can imagine. But Roger has this memory and he has doubted it. And he has expressed that doubt and he's passed it on to you. And this is why we orchestrated all of this, because we cannot have him regretting what he did not understand, as you cannot regret what you did not understand about who you are, who you were meant to be, what you were meant to become. The regret is a waste of time. What we would rather have you do is decide to own, decide to change, decide to shift. That is where you are now and why you are in the world. You are the ones who need to change. We're saying this because you will see so many in your world who are completely, it seems to you, oblivious, that they are not aware of what is occurring. They're in just a different time, space trajectory than you are. However, you have a memory. You have a memory of why you're here. You have a memory of what you came to offer the world, but you've been a bit afraid of it. You've been doubting it. You've been holding it back. You haven't been willing to embrace it, but you can no longer do that. Your world has shown you this because of your galactic changes that have happened and just the eclipse that you've had, and now this full moon, which is why we brought Roger in, because he's the double Scorpio. He's the one who is meant to lead and show you the phoenix rising from the ashes as you're looking at your world and thinking that's what's happening. It is not. You're here to shift everything. And it is each of you. It is not just one person. You meant to do it collectively. That's why this time has been arranged. As you're seeing your world, we did this intentionally again, even on this day. We know that there was an eclipse and you thought that maybe we should have done it on that day. No, we wanted you to move through that because it was a release. It was a release of the old that was meant to happen, which is why it was so turbulent to some of you. And now this is a new beginning. This is why we planned the talk. This is why we named it in the way that we did. Roger had no clue as why we were doing that, but now it's all very clear. We're saying that because you each have that plan and it's unfolding before you now. You have a divine plan for your life that is coinciding with your world, and what you meant to do was to awaken to who you are during this time so that you could add your energy to the collectively and to the collective, and then allow your world to evolve and continue to expand. Otherwise, as we've said many times, the world that you desire to see is not guaranteed. In this moment, again, we're going back to using your linear time because that's all that you have reference to, but that does not exist, as many as was pointed out to even Roger yesterday, as he knows this so well. Your time is just an illusion, as in everything else, even your physical things. All your physical things are illusions. However, you came into the world to use everything physical, and part of using that physicality was meaning embracing abundance, embracing prosperity, embracing all of that, because the balance that has happened in the world has been completely askew. It's been off. This is why you're having the challenges that the world is experiencing. It's not accidental that women have become far more important in the world. We've told you this. We've said each civilization, you use something to hold yourselves back in terms of your entire human population, in terms of your human population evolving, because it takes all of you. You cannot evolve unless you become more whole. That is you, the individual, and your world as a whole. And that's what you're up to now. As we've said, you're just in this phase of duality. We gave you that in another message yesterday. We said you are moving through a phase of duality. Duality always exists. And you have to decide what you're going to believe, because you have choices. Are you going to believe that everything is falling apart, or you're going to believe that everything is coming together? Those are the choices that you're making in your world, and you're making them in your lives. Now, we've told you where your power is. Your power is always in your thoughts. But many of you, including Roger, have not been willing to use that to the way that you could have to manifest different results in your life and therefore in your world. We're saying this again because Roger has, he awakened with regret. And he knew that this was going to come up, why we had him send the message this morning. That was from 2013, because again, as we said, we knew, we can see all of it, that you wouldn't be where you wanted to be. And it was only because you doubted. It was only because you didn't understand your importance. You couldn't accept the brilliance that is within you and what your importance was, the essence that you came to bring. Now, you each are doing this from your own perspective, meaning you have evolutionary journey that it's connected to your ancestral heritage. We want you to understand that your ancestral heritage. We had Roger unexpectedly, he thought, but nothing is accidental or unexpected. But we had him watch a little documentary last night that showed the changes that you're moving through. He saw where a family was going to buy, this is a Black family, this is in the United States. We told you the United States would lead the way in terms of your restructuring, and that is what is occurring. You're just seeing it later. But it's been in the works. And so what he saw was a family who wanted to buy this house, and it was in an area that the one person assumed, no, they would never sell this house to a Black person. That was a consciousness that was there. He was not going to approach buying this house, even though it was for sale and available to anyone, but he had not accepted that he was the one who would be able to buy this house because he was a Black person. You've used race and gender for eons to hold one another back, and you're moving through another iteration of that existence to come to more wholeness. You will understand that soon. You are moving to wholeness. So in this scenario, and as we had Roger watching this program, which he had no clue as to why we were doing that, but what they discovered through the research, which is why we've told you to study your history, it would be much more beneficial if you had seen your history and you know these changes that are moving through your world are always occurring and are continually occurring. But what they found eventually was that this particular house that the man was trying to purchase was where his relatives, his ancestors, which he knew none of, had been enslaved. They discovered that later because you have technology. You've developed this so you can discover things, but you don't use it all the time. But you use your technology for other things, most likely in an inappropriate way to spread things that are not helping any of you in terms of what you're trying to create, which is a much better world. However, in this discovery, they felt a kind of restructuring of their lives because now they own the house. We want you to hear this. They own the house where their relatives, their ancestors, had formerly been enslaved. This is the shift. This is the restructuring that we're speaking of. You cannot create a world that is to the likings of all of you unless you understand the equalness of all of you, unless you understand that each of you have within you the essence to bring forth that delivery, that balance in your world, but it has to happen within you first, but you've been denying it. And there is no better example than Roger. For more than a year, we had him go back, and we've done this purposely because we want all of you to understand this because you've done this to yourselves. We had him go back and find a recording that we did of one of our very first messages because he was resistant. He didn't want to do this at all, as you know. We've said that many times, but he knows that he has to because that memory is very present within him. And he can see all the information that we have given him for all these years. He's never been able to contradict it. So why would he not give that to others? It's because of this old ingrained inferiority that many of you have that you're working through now, and that's why you're here. You're here to work through your restrictions and limitations, and we've said it over and over. And so when you watch this one video that we had him go, there were two of them, but there was one in particular that we wanted him to see, and we wanted all of you to see because we asked you to watch it, but many of you passed that by too because you pass many of our things by where we're trying to get you to watch, and we told Roger, please calm down. He got so upset because he goes, why aren't they listening? Why aren't they paying attention? You will pay attention when it's time. You won't know. We've had him see this. And then we had him sit down. He got so angry again. And we're bringing this up because each of you may come up with some of these things because you're going to uncover so much more about who you are. You will. That's what this whole point, this whole time in your world is this restructuring is so that you can see this. So we had him sit down and watch another little unexpected documentary with Deepak Chopra, which many of you know, and he is so well respected and honored, and he's done so much in terms of his involvement, and he's reached this ascended level. And Roger sat there and he listened to everything that he said, and he said, I know all of that. And we said, well, why aren't you talking about it? Why aren't you owning it then? And he got angry because he said, I know all of this. What's holding me back? Why am I still doubting? I know all of this. We're saying that to each of you because you've had that feeling. There's something within you. You know why you're here. You know that you have this essence that you're meant to give to the world. And so, but you doubt yourselves, and you're taking the next thing. You're taking the next course. You're taking the next speaker. You're listening to the next influencer. You're following something to understand that what you wanted to give to the world is already within you. And we know that is challenging because you have these it doesn't happen all at once. We've given you this. We gave you that in your life operating instructions. We gave you progression, which we would like for you to pay attention to, because progression means that you only accept a part of yourselves at a time. You have to integrate that, allow it to become whole, allow it to become the new part of you, allow it to assimilate. And then what happens is that you will become that new person. Then you can manifest things in a much different way, in a new way. And that's why you're here now. But you're doing it in this collective way. We want to keep emphasizing that, meaning that you were not meant to do this alone. Because many of you have had this feeling like I'm supposed to change the world. Well, you are, but you're meant to do it together. That was the entire point of this. We've shown Roger his history. We've shown it to all of you, the ancient history that he sometimes remembers or sometimes allows to come through, but it is there. You each have that, but you're not necessarily going to access that information in this particular lifetime. But you have others like Roger who will do it, who will then speak of his way, which is you're each meant to do, by the way. He will speak of his way of coming to understanding. And see, this is why we said the regret and understanding, they don't exist. They can't be together. See, because if you're regretting something, you think it's gone wrong, and then that means your entire life has gone wrong, and that's not ever occurring. It's just that you figure things out at a later time. But then what happens is you have to decide that, okay, now that I figured this out, now that I have assimilated this, what am I going to do with it? And this is where each of you are right now in your lives and in your world. That's why this is such a momentous time for you to begin to accept who you are, to own who you are, understand your worth and value. We sent something out yesterday. We wanted all of you to see that as well. Your worth and value. It is immense simply because you have existed at this time. The last several years have not been accidental. They were challenging, and they were challenging for all of you. And if you survived, if you're still in physical form, that means that there was more for you to do, and you were meant to do it now. You were meant to do it now. We gave you many months ago, we gave you a lot of information that you couldn't quite put together, but it was about the war that was coming about. Now, we're only speaking of this war because there's still so much else that you have not noticed in your world. And many other places that are suffering to a much greater degree than any of you have even seen, because you're not paying attention to that, because you're focused on the one thing. That's which is happening in each of your lives. That's not a bad thing. It's just that understand that there is far more that you can do once you start acknowledging your wealth, your abundance that is natural. There is no absence. There's no lack of anything that exists in your world. It's just that you've used all your resources in ways that did not serve the whole. They did not serve the collective. And that is the shift that you're going through. And that is also the fight. That is the duality. That is the nature of the duality. There are those who believe that we have to hold on to everything because it makes us more powerful. And there are the rest of you who will believe that, oh, well, they hold everything and we're not powerful. You get to where this imbalance has happened and why you're here. And we can say this because there would be no one listening to us who would not have the essence within them of bringing something wonderful into the world that they know could make a difference if they were willing to own it. And we're just going to say it in that way because we know that you feel these parts of you that you've held back from believing that you were a person who could make a difference. That seemed a little too egocentric for many of you to accept, and except that's what we've given you for forever. We've given you that. We said, please become selfish. Please Because see, when you do that, you understand your worth and value. You understand that you're meant to have things. But we know that the benevolent side of you would also give that to others. You would help more people if you accepted what you already had. And that is the purpose. That's why you are in the world now. That is why you exist now. And so we planned this because we wanted you to understand that all of the things that you've done, that you've judged, that you thought were wrong, bad, and all of that were not that. You were in training. We love using that because that's exactly what it was. You were in training to be awakened so that you could be here now to offer your essence to help move your world forward in the way that you would like for it to be. And you're going to choose, as we've said, and it's coming upon you now, and it's going to be more apparent in the next several weeks, because you're going to see things exposed that you had not known about yourself, number one. That's the first thing that is being exposed, as we've done with Roger. We're exposing so much to him over the last several weeks because we knew that it would be an important time for each of you to understand this on a much deeper level. You are in the world to expand. That is all. We will go back. We want to give you a further foundation here because we have to deal with things at the deepest level. You have been through years of watching people die everywhere. You've seen them. Your pandemic did that. You allowed that to occur. Those people died, a lot of them. But you're here. We gave you in your life operating instructions. We want you to understand this because this will help all of you. There's certain religions actually that follow this premise. We don't do it to that degree. However, but there's some that start with the premise you're going to die. Because if you accept that first, then you're not afraid of anything else, which there is some element of truth in that. However, what we decided to do was just to have you understand, and not in this harsh way, just to understand that you are having a physical life experience. That's all. You're having a physical life experience. You are eternal spiritual beings. You've always existed. You exist in eternity, but you chose a lifetime to move through another aspect of your evolution. That is why you are existing in the world now. And this time you decided to come in and offer your benevolent side, your wonderful, loving, good side. That's what you wanted to offer. But you didn't feel that you could do that most of your life. But now you're at a place where you're meant to, because it is when it was needed. It was when you planned it, because if you break through now, wow, do you create something different in your life? And that has to be your world. The two are not separate, as we've always said. And you come to understand that. So the wholeness that you're seeking is within you. And as you begin to form that, you will see that manifest in your world. What we've done for the last several months, well, many, many years, but we won't belabor that point. However, what we've done is getting Roger to finally move into a place where he can own exactly why he is in this world, what he was meant to do, and stop putting away his leadership, as we've said before. You each have that. You've had something that you've put away that you thought you couldn't do, that what you doubted, it wasn't you, all of that. You've each done it, but that's purposeful. That's called evolution. That's called expanding. That's why you're here. You were meant to do that. But there's certain times where you will listen to others as us, and your higher self is speaking to you. As we've always said, it's not us. You're hearing the information from your higher self directing you again, saying, this is the time, now it's time for you to move forward, this is it. But we have to keep encouraging you, because you resist it. And resistance is the only thing that has caused you to have difficulty in your lives. Judgment and resistance. The judgment is the biggest one. And we had Roger read some of that yesterday to a group. And we wanted all of you to understand that, because you have this judgment, and you're going to need to understand it as your world keeps moving through this restructuring, because you're going to see the differences. The differences have to be exposed, as we said. We've always said you're going to see the others, as we've so lovingly called them, the ones that you don't agree with. And this is where you have to come into ownership of you. And it is important, because the ownership of you would never have you judge others or yourself. That's the goal. Getting you to that authenticity, meaning letting go of your self-judgment, will then translate into your world, and you'll see all of the conflicts that you're continually creating. You'll see them start to leave. You'll see them begin to change. And it is not going to happen in necessarily where you're going to see it. Understand that you're not going to see some of the results that you're putting into place now in your physical form. That's not realistic. You understand that because you see how long it's taken you to change. Think about how long it takes the collective to change. That's why we said this is going to go on for a while. When we gave you your life operating instructions, we wanted people to be in it for a year because you're going to need some structuring. You're going to need some support. You're going to need some love. You're going to need some further development, let's say. And the development is only acceptance. It's always acceptance, because you were given everything. And if you could understand that simple premise, you would maybe understand your life a little bit more. You were born with all the tools, everything you needed, and the conditions were set forth in your life. But what you were meant to do is move through your life, understand, walk through the resistance, walk through the fear, walk through the doubt, walk through all of that, to come to this place where you finally understand that you love yourself. And that in that instance, you can see that you love everyone else because you can see the sameness there. And this is the self-actualization that we're speaking of. And this is what Roger was watching Deepak Chopra talk about, which he completely understood, but had not given himself permission to own that he had received something that could provide that for others, and he has. And we can say that over and over again when we tell him, and this is why we guarantee the results, because we know what it is, because we have given him the foundations of your most basic understanding of human life and progression from the earliest times. You discount your ancient teachings, but they hold such great wisdom because you've built upon them. This is the part we want you to understand. Yes, the new things are great. The new things are great, but the new things are only created because you had the old things, because you had the ancient things, you build upon them. That means you have, as we told you in day one of your life operating instructions, you have infinite intelligence. You have access to all the information that has been developed and brought into your world from previous lifetimes, previous existences, previous civilizations, the one that you decided to keep, that is, because you didn't keep all of your civilizations, as we've told you. However, that's none of your concern now. Just as we told you that you might not even understand the extraterrestrials that you will begin seeing at some point. You will begin talking about, and we've given you that, and many of you might have noticed over the weekend that there was more emphasis on that, even because you were watching the moon, but it was more than that. Your scientists were saying maybe we should talk about some of these things that none of us have seen or understood. Not your concern necessarily right now, but what is your concern is understanding that there's far more than you know. There's far more that exists in your world and within you than you had ever been exposed to. And that's the part that frightens you. See, because then you have to let go of the limited ideas you've held about yourselves. And then you have to step into this unknown where you think, I don't know where I'm going here. Well, we've given you guidance, though. You see, we've given you all of that. And now it just becomes the deliberate decision by each of you to embody it, to utilize it, to decide that you're going to be mindful. And when we speak of mindfulness, we use it in the way that we would like each of you to understand. And that is about your focused attention. Now, focused attention means that you're deliberately taking your moment-to-moment thoughts and placing them in the direction of what you want to manifest. And when more of you begin to do that and understand that you have the power to do so, you start to create different results in your life and then also in your world. You cannot say that you haven't seen this. You've seen it. And you have great leaders who are exemplifying it to this day. They're showing you, we gave you something, we're going to go back to this because this will be important at this point. We gave you, some time ago, we had Roger record a video about you were all brainwashed. And we need you to understand this because this is the problem that you each have in your individual lives, not understanding this particular aspect. You have been brainwashed because you were meant to. You couldn't come into the world knowing everything. There would be no point. There would be nothing for you left to discover. There would be nothing left for you to create or manifest. As you look at your world, you can see this has gone on for eons, where you keep creating newer and newer things, and then your world starts to look much more shinier and brighter than what you had before, because you took all the information from everyone who existed and you decided that you were going to add something to it and make it better. Better is probably not the term that we would like to use. That's one that Roger uses because he likes to put things in human terms, but it is more evolved. We want you to, we continually correct him. He has his human terms that he will use to try to explain, but we do not want you to take any of this as meaning that some of you are better or worse. That doesn't exist. You're all experiences. And experience is the only thing that causes your world to evolve, or you to evolve. That's all. It are experiences, but your judgments, and judgments take on different forms. They take on forms of good and bad, right and wrong, all of that. Those are judgments because they're of a human nature, and you can't understand that. You're spiritual beings. So in that realm, everything is fine. Everything is okay. But you wanted to come into the world to have physical lives so that you could feel things, your emotions, your fear, all of that. You wanted to feel all of that because it causes you to move in some way. It causes you to do something that manifests, that creates something new. However, there's been, as we've said, why you needed a restructuring in the world. There's been a disproportionate allocation of what you believe to be power or control. That's all. And it's gone on forever. You've done it since the beginning of humans on your planet. It's always gone on, and you happen to exist at a particular time in your world, in your history, where this change is happening on a massive level. Massive. And it will continue. There was these events, and we knew these were going to happen. There was an event that happened the other day, which was close to Roger, which got him to move. And you each will have ones that will be closer to you due to that evolutionary ancestral thread. Let's call it that. The ancestral thread that each of you have will respond to different events in your world, only to cause you to awaken to why you're here. Because you each have this wonderful mission while you're on the earth. It's to cause yourselves to evolve and then add that energy to your world. And so what Roger saw was a shooting. And these are the things that for him are quite challenging and difficult, because he also has a memory where that didn't exist. You didn't do, as humans, you didn't do things in that quite in that nature. You would, yes, you've always fought one another. But the deliberate killing of others is very challenging for him to understand. But that's also why he has been given his particular path and why you will respond to yours. So, but when he saw this, he also knew something else. It reminded him of what we said to each of you, which would occur unless you started to change what was within you. You have the systemic beliefs within you that have always been limited. And sometimes they become so painful and difficult that the only way you understand how to release that is to then go and try to make someone else less than you so that you can feel powerful. And as we've said, there's no hierarchy of souls. You must understand that. But humans have decided at certain times that they were going to usurp that they were going to do something different, that if we could put an entire bunch of people down, then we will be powerful and we can rule whatever portion of the earth we think we should. It never works, and it always is changed. And as we've said, what you're seeing happening now, we told you that the thing in Russia is not going to turn out the way that many of you have thought, and you're seeing that occurring now. We even told you months ago that if we stopped and took a breath, and saw something different happening in the world, in that particular area of the world, things would change. And they did. They stopped for a while. You still killed a lot of people because you're still not willing to move in the direction of owning yourself. We want you to understand that your energetic makeup is so vital to the creation of your world. And it's challenging for many of you to understand that because you are carrying the old beliefs. And this is why we said this is the time to let go of the old and bring in the new. However, you have quantum mechanics now. We've talked about the physics, but we want you to think of mechanics because now you can see how things are created in physical form. But where is that physical form? How is that physical form being manipulated? How is it being moved? It's being moved by you. It's being moved by your deliberate attention to your thoughts, which is why we gave you focused attention, which we might mention that we gave Roger that more than 30 some years ago. And he has failed to use it effectively because he didn't attribute as much importance to it as you might not have. Well, that's all you need. If you decided, if you understood the power that you possess in your thoughts and your thinking, you would be much more deliberate about using your focused attention to manifest the results that you want. And this is where you are now, because it is the time where you can start to utilize this and shift your life and also that of your world. And that is why you're here. And it's these really powerful times, because they will be powerful, especially over the next several weeks and months, because more will be revealed. You can't change anything that you're not willing to see. In our program, as we've said, we ask you questions. We just ask you questions because you have such brilliance within you, but you may not have been able to access it because of the programming that's been done. And that programming is generational, as we've said, which is why you need this restructuring. And none of this is accidental. None of your life paths have been accidental. We keep reiterating that. We had Roger write something many, many years ago, and many of you might have seen it. It was an article. We guided him to do it because we knew it would be showing up now. We knew it'd be showing up now. We're saying this was like 5, 6 years ago. He only wrote it. He wrote it in 2016, however. But we will tell you it started far beyond that. We gave him this awareness, and the article was, I might be slightly racist with misogynistic tendencies. We thought that title would be so appropriate for all of you to understand, because you each have that. You have biases, you have racial biases because they've been ingrained within you, no matter where you come from. They're there. If you're not looking at them, you're not going to see them. You're never going to uncover them, but they are there. And this is why we gave you that. And then you have this gender bias. Why? Which is why we said the United States would lead the way, and you're seeing it now, because they are, again, attempting to control women. That's what it is. And you use different ideas about that, which are the contradictions that each of you will have to come to in your own way. We're not offering an opinion, but we're just giving you information for you to make your choices, because that's the current thing that is happening in your world in the United States. As we said, they're becoming a great example for all of you, for the entire world. And so they're having the fight now between whether or not it is okay for a woman to have an abortion, because you're having this debate, the whole chicken and the egg debate, which you've carried on forever, you never answer, but you're having this debate about where life begins. And then you say, well, wait a minute, we're going to pick these instances where life begins. We're going to pick these. But then we're going to pick when life ends too, because we're going to also have executions. Yeah, you're going to have to really think about that. And each of you within your own lives, we know that you don't die, so we're not worried about your physical bodies. That's something that humans deal with, but you're going to have to, in this lifetime, this is what you're going to confront. And it's going to be before you in vivid ways, which is why we have given you our work, to help you understand and come to own who you are. Everything that we have given you is only about you coming to ownership of yourselves. You came to live this autonomous life, the sovereignty that you have which is brilliant because it's your life. It's not influenced by anything else out there. It's just you. You have the power to create and manifest your life in the way that would serve you, which is why we said in our message that the way that you know you're on that path, you're in the right place, is when you feel good. It seems completely ridiculous because that doesn't seem like a big enough goal, but it was the only one that you had for your life. So why not honor it and own it now? This is where you're all going, and this is why we have given you everything is to understand where, to understand the ability that you have now to do something magnificent. And we're not quite sure that you understand the significance of this particular time. We've given you certain times within your current history, because the other things you would not know. We've taken Roger back to, which is why we had him watching all those documentaries that he didn't understand, understanding more, having memories of his ancient history that you could see transitions throughout your human existence, where you come to more understanding of who you are. Your world today in this 21st century, as you think of in your linear times, is far different than anything that you can have known in other areas, in other centuries. You don't have any conscious memory of that. You can't see it. And the only thing that kind of brings it back is when you might study or any of that. That's what gives those memories to you. But you must understand that you have access to everything, that if you open your minds to it, because it's only energy, where does it go? It's not gone anywhere. It's always existing, but it's you who have blocked it off, who have limited it in some way, but you did that for a reason. Okay, so now when you think about your life, you were born into the world, you have no memory of what's gone before. Whether or not you believe that you were eternal beings or spiritual or any of that, it doesn't matter. You can still use your life experience, this particular life, and understand that when you were born, you knew growing up, you got a little awareness here and there. And then you started thinking, oh, I'm going to kindergarten now. That's what most of you think of as your earlier primary years. You're going to, we're using United States terms, but you may have others in different countries, but you're going into kindergarten. And that was a really strange, different experience. And you go, I want to be home. Why am I here? This is a little frightening. Let me scream and cry a little bit and throw tantrums. And maybe my teacher will pay attention to me if I do that. You did that. Then you decided, okay, well, now let me start to own a little bit more of who I am. I want to fit in. I want to. Now you're starting to be formed, you see. Now you're starting to be formed and you're starting to agree with the others. You want to fit in. You don't want to feel separate. You're already left your home. We're giving you a scenario that so many of you can kind of relate to because you've moved through it. And then you move, and depending on where you went to school or what you did, or maybe you were educated at home and you never even saw people, whatever it was, you had your existence. You had your version of reality and you were creating it. And from that, you kept creating it. But many times what you did is you picked up some of the things, sometimes from your ancestors, from your parents, from those who came before. Sometimes you picked up those and made them your own, which were limiting. And so you're working through those now. There's nothing else. That's exactly what you're doing. You're moving through those. There would be no other point to your life unless you were meant to move through restrictions and limitations, because otherwise you don't evolve. You don't expand, and neither does your world. So what would be the point of it all? The point was you came to have physical experience. You wanted to feel all of it, even the fear. You wanted to feel all of it because it causes you to move, causes you to do something. But you wanted to come to loving yourselves. That's the only thing. That's your ultimate goal. And we've said that we've given you this in many different forms over many different years, but the irony of your life is that you come to the end of it and you discover that all you were ever trying to do is become yourself. That's the only thing you were ever trying to do. But you need help doing that, and this is why we gave you our program, which is why we gave you Roger, actually. is to do that, is to help you understand that your importance in the world and how it was meant to come about now, how you were meant to actualize it to help form your new world. Yes, you are creating a new world. We've said it over and over. You are here to usher in a new world. It is not possible for you to look at all the events that are occurring in your world and think that they are accidental, that these things just popped up somehow. They did not. They've been brewing forever. But that's, again, why you're here. You knew this was going to be happening. And so even though this particular period might be challenging for many of you, and we know it has been for so many of you, it's been scary. It's been downright frightening. Except you don't die. Nothing's going to go wrong. We even gave you a message in 2020 where we said, we told you how it all turns out. It turns out that you're going to live and you're going to create eventually something wonderful. However, you may take eons, you may take centuries of getting there if you continue to hold back. You see, you didn't come to this place in your world overnight, not even in the last 100 years, even though we used in the very beginning, we used many references to the 100 years because you were seeing the events and we wanted you to understand that. You were seeing the events repeating that were similar to ones that happened more than 100 years ago. And that's still going on. There's still so many of them. And you're having to make new choices now, which is why you are here. And the choices that you're making, we said you were going to come to this, are going to be between, do you want a world that looks like you're all equal, that you're all doing things in what you call a democracy or however you go about creating that? Or do you want one that's going to be continually controlled by one person? That's it, by one person. And you're still fighting about that. And then that one person is going to say, wait a minute, I'm the most powerful. I'm supposed to have all of this. And you're seeing it play out. You might not notice it, but you're seeing it play out. And it's going to shift though, because where everything is gone, we're just going to give you the bottom line. It's not possible for you to stop the movement of your world in terms of where it's going. It is possible for you to make it more difficult, however. It is possible for you to make it more challenging, and you make it more challenging by refusing to accept your worth and value in the world. This is what we're saying. The more of you who decide that you're going to accept and understand your worth and value, you put something quite different into the world. And we've had to take Roger through the depths of despair to get him to finally commit to working with what we have given him and bringing it to the world. And it may take you something of that nature as well. We've said that he's used money his entire life to do it. And we have the evidence of it. We can go back and see every single recording we've done. We talk about it because yours may not be the same, but there's something that you've used to hold yourselves back from accessing the brilliance, the genius, the gift that you have. There's something. And it's not, again, this is not a bad thing. It's just part of your journey, your evolutionary journey. And again, we want you to get out of the age thing, your chronological age. It's only a human thing and it has nothing to do with where you are now, because each of you are in the right place for your particular journey. Roger's very clear about that. As we've said, he had all these traumas in the very beginning. We had him do something else the other day, which he didn't know. And we're going to talk about it now. We had him, because he didn't know this was all occurring at the same time. We had him post something that said failure is a choice. And we had him post this because he doesn't talk about certain things. We had him post a photo of himself where he had recovered from so many horrible things that many people would have thought this is impossible to do. And he had recovered from it, and he was not willing to talk about it, not willing to put it out there. So we just had him do that. And then the next day is when he saw, and then that same day, however, he wasn't paying attention to this. We had him send this out first. We're saying this because he didn't even put this all together, so we're just revealing it. We had him send that out first. Then later, he came back and saw what had happened in terms of the shooting, which awakened him even more. And he says, okay, I have to stop doing this. That's a place we wanted all of you to come to. Is to let go of what you used to do to yourself, how you held yourself back, how you doubted, how you didn't believe, and now start believing and start moving into, as we said, having more faith in belief. We know those words didn't make sense to some of you when we wrote them the other day, but that's what we meant. You don't have anything that's tangible, so you have to have faith in something. So have faith in the belief that where you're going is for your highest good and that of your world as it is. And you will begin to see this more and more as you let down your resistance. And you will start to perform what you think are miracles. And they are not that. They're just naturally occurring events that you've been blocking. But you did that purposefully, because that's the only way you can evolve. You can't evolve if you are it's going to stay in the same place. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You have to become willing to say, wait a minute, maybe there's more. Maybe there's something else I can do. Maybe I can take that next step, and maybe I can decide to move beyond my fear. And that's what you're doing. You're moving beyond your fear and doubt. We've said that over and over. And we're doing it again because there'll be more of it that will arise, because you'll look at the world and think something is happening. And we need you to understand, yes, it is happening, but it's happening for you, not against you, not to you. Nothing's being done. You're not being punished. You've given yourself the opportunity in this moment, in this time in your world, to finally actualize and own who you are. And we are going to do everything that we can to continue that help that we've offered. And we had to begin with Roger, and we had to get him to change first, and we had to get him to almost to truly go into so much fear and suffering before he was willing to say, okay, enough is enough. And that's what we want for each of you, is to say, okay, I'm tired of holding myself back. I'm tired of doubting who I am. I'm tired of suffering. I'm tired of looking at the world through the eyes of fear and doubt. And I'm going to start to own who I am. And I'm going to start to believe that I have this value and purpose that was meant to be actualized now, because that is the truth. And that's the truth that we're giving you, that is existing in ultimate reality, as we call it. Getting back to source, getting back to God, getting back to everything that you have known yourselves to be, but have just denied as you're moving through this particular part of your life. And that's all that is occurring. We would love to open up to any discussions. We really want to we have no clue as to who might be listening, but if there are any who have questions or any further clarification, we would love to entertain that. And those who are listening to the broadcast later, because we know that there are many who will listen to it later, we keep encouraging you to do that, because you will find that when you listen to it, it will surprise you. And we need the surprise to be there, because it shocks you out of your complacency. Because when you get the surprise, it'll be, I'm hearing this now and I wasn't even there, but it's making sense. That's so that you can hear your higher self that has always directed you and been speaking to you, but you may have been blocking that information. Okay.
Okay, I've sent out the invitation to come into the room. You can ask your questions. And it seems that we have no questions.
Oh, okay. This is perfect. So we will leave with the last little bit of the information that we want you to have, because it's going to come up more and more, and it's going to come up quite quickly, and in rapid succession, we should say, where the divisions will become more apparent. And understand that the divisions that you're witnessing on the outside, that you're witnessing in your world, have existed within you. And so you are only here, you're living your life, you're not living anyone else's life. You are in this moment, in this life now, to own who you are, to embody that, and finally accept your magnificence. And as you begin to do that, not only will your life change, but the effects of that are felt in your world, and you will start to see things move in a completely new way. We're saying this too because we want to say this. This is not an isolated thing that's happening. There are many people on the planet who understand what is occurring now, and there are many people who are oblivious to it, as we've said. However, more of you have a little bit, you have more awareness of what is happening. But you will see those who are remaining unconscious, you have to decide to become conscious of why you're here. Own yourselves, love yourself, and give that to your world. And we are so grateful that you're listening, that you will listen, and that you're here, and that you're deciding to make your contribution. And we love you so much. And we're complete. Hmm.